I am nervously excited to create this video. Put your pool noodles away because we are diving right into the deep end. I'm Jay, co-producer of A State of Ride, otherwise known as DJ Jo, and today we're going to be talking about Open Broadcast Software Studio, more commonly known as OBS. Okay, Future Jay here, and I made a mistake. This video ran way longer than what I thought it was going to be. So this is going to be part one, and in this we're going to go through, obviously, an intro into OBS, what OBS can do, and where to get it, how to install it, and just a brief look at the menus and things like that within. And we'll be doing a second part, and that'll actually be inside of OBS, setting up scenes and sources and all that good stuff, actually making it work. Okay, so what is OBS? Well, it's kind of all in the name. It's open, meaning it's open source, so it's free, and it is software that basically turns your computer into a full-blown broadcast studio. Typically, it's used for live streaming on places like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, but it can also be used to record your live streams. As well, it has an option to be used as a virtual camera, meaning anything that you see within your version of OBS, you can put that over onto Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Okay, Jay, I am ready to dive in. Where do I get this software? What you want to do is you want to navigate over to a website called obsproject.com. You will be greeted with this screen. Now, sidebar. If you happen to Google search this and you end up on a screen or a website called Streamlabs or Streamlabs OBS, just don't. Please, just don't do it. This is the software that you want. Don't deal with Streamlabs at all. Okay, so this is the website. As I said, it's free. If you feel inclined, you can contribute. There's a contribution tab up in the upper right-hand corner, but this is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So choose your appropriate operating system and click the blue box for that, and it'll start to download. So once it downloads, you can go through and install. Now, I'm not sure about Mac and Linux. However, since I'm on Windows, when you install it, you know, like most programs, they'll say, do you want to install in this particular location? I recommend you do, because there's a lot of plugins that you may make use of in the future, and it's easier to install those if you've already installed OBS where it wants to install. So I would just recommend that. All right, so we've launched OBS, and this is what we're presented with. So right off the bat, the auto configuration wizard is going to come up. Reason being, OBS wants to get a feel for how you intend on using it. So you have three options. One would be if you're streaming to, say, Twitch, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live. Another option would be what I'm doing right now, which is just recording. So I'm just recording what's on my screen, recording my webcam, etc. And the third is what's called a virtual camera. Now, this is what you want to use if you want to use OBS within Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So choose the one that's most appropriate for you, go through the prompts, and hit apply. Now, I'm going to close this. We're going to actually take a look at the actual settings within OBS. To get to the settings, you can click the File tab and choose Settings. Alternatively, you can go down to the lower right-hand corner, and just above the Exit button, you can press Settings. So now we have a bunch of tabs on the left-hand side. The first one is General. You're not going to really change much in here, so let's skip that. Second one is Stream. If you're streaming to Twitch, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, any of those, this is where those settings get populated. Now, some of them, I know Twitch will allow you to go through and log into Twitch, and then it automatically kind of makes the sync where it'll allow you to stream. Other places like Facebook Live actually have what's called Stream Key that you have to copy from Facebook Live into OBS, and once you copy it in, then that'll allow you to stream. The next tab is Output. Now, mine's come up as Advanced by default, just because I already had it set there, but normally it'll come up as Simple. As we look at that under Streaming, we only worry about the Streaming tab if we're streaming to Twitch, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. But this is where you would go in and you would pick what's known as your encoder. And if you have a gaming laptop or a PC that has got a NVIDIA GTX or RTX graphics card, there's a special chip on those cards that do nothing but encode video. And if you have one of those, you would want to make use of it. Otherwise, you're going to be using your processor and you're going to be running X264. Real quick, bit rates. This is dependent on your internet speed, your upload speed. Rule of thumb is most platforms, the max you want to be is 6,000. If you're doing 1080p 30, a general rule of thumb is if you run a speed test, whatever that comes back at, you could probably go at a little bit over half of that because you just want to give yourself some buffer. Recording tab is very much like the streaming tab. It's just this is what it's going to record at. Since you're recording directly to your computer, these settings can be much higher and you can record it to individual stems. So what that means is I can go through and I can record my mic to an individual stem. I can record everything else to another stem. And then if I need to do editing to the audio itself in post-production, I have the ability to do that because every source is separate. We've got the audio. This is where you set the bit rate, playing like high quality music. Depending on what track it is, you'll want to set that higher. 160 for mic is fine. And the replay buffer, I won't really get into that. That's if you want to do instant replays. It's mainly for gaming. Now you've got the audio tab. Sample rate, leave it default, stereo. You only change this if you're doing surround sound, which I doubt you're doing. Global audio devices. I don't set anything in here because I'm going to choose my audio devices later within sources. Reason being this is global, so it's just always on unless you go in and mute it. And I'll show you the reason why later. Now you've got your meters. That's just when we start looking at audio meters, it just shows how they respond, and monitoring device. Now this one you're going to want to pick. So you basically want to pick wherever your headphones are. So my headphones are on my speakers Realtek high definition audio, and I'm going to pick that and apply. Now video. This is your canvas. You can see behind this screen, there's a black box. That's the canvas. The canvas right now is 1080p. Your output resolution is the same, 1080p. You only reduce this if you have issues with streaming because of a poor connection, but generally you keep them 1-for-1. The downscale filter, you won't need that if it's the same size. Common FPS value, you're either going to run 30 or 60. 60 is really for fast motion and gaming, stuff like that. If you're streaming a video game, 30 for a class will be fine. Hotkeys. As you populate OBS, you're going to be able to control nearly every aspect of it with a hotkey. So if you wanted to create a keyboard shortcut for any important button that you want to press, you can do that here. So for instance, if I wanted to create a shortcut to start streaming, I can click on it and I can say, okay, I want to make Control S start streaming, and I want to make Control S to stop streaming. So if I hit Control S, the stream will start. If I hit it again, the stream will stop. Whenever you put something in there, click apply and it'll take effect. And then in the advanced tab, there's not much you're gonna really need to do in here. The only thing I would recommend making sure is checked is automatically reconnect. This is for if you're streaming, because what'll happen is if your internet drops out and you get disconnected, this will automatically try to reconnect. And those are the settings. So that was just real quick. Now let's actually take a look at OBS. Okay, so now this is the interface that you'll see within OBS. And in the middle of the screen, you have a big black box, and that is an empty scene, otherwise known as the canvas. So the canvas is set at 1080p. We've already determined that when we went through and we were looking through the settings. Now, below that, we've got 5 boxes. From left to right, we've got one box that's called scenes with one empty scene in it. That's why we have a black box in front of us. Next to that, we've got sources. Now, the sources are basically your cameras, video, audio, pictures, text, anything that you populate to create a scene. So right now I have one scene that's empty, and if I had something within that scene, it would be in the sources box. Next to that, we have the audio mixer. Any source that has an audio component will show up in the audio mixer and you'll be able to control it. Next to that, we've got scene transitions. If I have multiple scenes, which is the point of using OBS, what the scene transitions will do is it allows you to decide how you want to change scenes. Do you want it to be a hard just switch? Do you want one to fade over the other? Do you want one to move in from, say, the left and go and wipe over the other one? It's just how you want that transition to be made. And then next to that, we have controls. And this is where you would actually control the starting and the stopping of your streaming, your recording, your virtual camera. That's why they have start streaming, start recording, start virtual camera. Studio mode, which we're going to talk about in just one moment. The settings button, which we've already used, and exit. So studio mode, if we click that, you'll notice that now I have two boxes. One labeled preview and one labeled program. The one that's labeled program, that is what everyone sees. Anything that's in that box, that's what people are seeing. The one that's labeled preview allows you the opportunity to call up a scene and see it prior to pushing it out to program. So if I have a scene in program, it could be anything, and I pulled up a scene that has my webcam in it, if I then want to push that out, what I would do is I would press one of the buttons in here, or I slide this little bar, and what it does is it actually flips them, it switches them. So whatever's in the program goes into the preview, whatever's in the preview goes into the program. Now, generally, if you are teaching a class and you're trying to run OBS, you will not be using this. You'll be using the other method. So I just wanted to show you that's here so you can have a play with it and just know that it's there and how it works. So let's go back to the normal preview mode. Okay, and that wraps up part one of this brief introduction into OBS. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about the content that was covered in here, please comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And once again, I'm Jo. Peace.
Yeah, well, we've told people why we're here. And that's why Chops is here. He's like, come on, man, will you just hurry up? But I'm going to wait till Reese comes in. Oh, dude, you serious? Mate, the crotch cam kills me, bud. It's the most unflattering angle you can ever get,
That's
bro.
fantastic.
Holy moly.
Actually, what I need to do is I needed to go to this one because I have to do this.
You're such a funny bugger.